Have you ever found yourself staring at your partner while they scroll through their phone, wondering, do you even see me? Do you see the invisible list I carry every single day? The mental load of remembering birthdays, the emotional labor of keeping the peace, the silent resentment when you realize you're the only one trying. If this hits a nerve, stay with me. Because today we're talking about the unspoken exhaustion of being the emotional backbone of your marriage and why it leaves so many of us feeling utterly alone. You've heard it before, the well-meaning but hollow offer. Just tell me what you need. As if your exhaustion could be solved with a simple grocery list. But here's the truth they don't understand. Asking is not a solution. It's another task on your mental to-do list. Think about it. You shouldn't have to assign him the role of parent, partner, or adult. You shouldn't have to train him to notice the overflowing trash or remember your child's teacher conference. The mental energy it takes to anticipate needs, delegate, and then follow up is its own full-time job. And when you're already carrying the weight of work, household duties, and the emotional well-being of everyone around you, just asking becomes just another way you're doing the work for two. Worse, the imbalance isn't just about chores. It's about the silent assumption that you are the default. The default planner, the default rememberer, the default soother. He doesn't have to think about whether the kids have clean uniforms for school tomorrow because you always do. He doesn't have to keep track of his mother's birthday because you handle the cards and gifts. And when you finally break and say, "Why don't you ever just do this without me asking?" Suddenly, you're the one being naggy or controlling. But here's what they don't get. Emotional labor isn't about tasks. It's about being seen. It's about wanting a partner who notices when the fridge is empty, who anticipates that you might be overwhelmed, who actively participates in the life you're supposed to be building together. Not as your assistant, but as your equal. So the next time he says, just ask. Ask him this instead. Why is it my job to tell you what needs to be done? Do you wait for your boss to remind you to do your job every day? Because love shouldn't feel like management, and you shouldn't have to beg for basic partnership. The slow burn of silent resentment begins with those small, everyday moments that seem insignificant on their own. The coffee cup deliberately placed next to the empty dishwasher. The socks left in a heap on the floor you just vacuumed. The exaggerated sigh when you remind him about taking out the trash for the third time. At first, you swallow your frustration, telling yourself it's not worth the argument. You pick up the cup, gather the socks, take out the trash yourself. Each silent act of surrender leaving another microscopic crack in your spirit. Over time, these cracks spread like fault lines, until one day you realize you've become a stranger to yourself. The woman who once spoke her mind now bites her tongue so often she's forgotten the taste of her own truth. What makes this resentment so insidious is its invisibility. From his perspective, everything is fine. After all, you haven't complained. But inside, you're drowning in the unspoken tally of all the ways you've made yourself smaller to keep the peace. The way you've lowered your expectations so gradually you didn't even notice, until one day you wake up realizing you've been living on emotional crumbs. That sarcastic edge in your voice when he finally offers help? That's not bitterness. It's the sound of grief for the partnership you thought you were building. The way you stiffen when he touches you? That's not coldness. It's your body remembering every time your needs were treated as inconvenient. The tragedy of this silent resentment is that by the time it surfaces, it's often too late. Not because the love is gone, but because you've trained each other into roles that no longer fit. He's learned his comfort comes first. You've learned your needs come last. Breaking this cycle requires the courage to stop pretending, to risk being called dramatic or too sensitive in order to reclaim your right to take up space in your own life. Because the truth no one tells you is this: a relationship where only one person's feelings matter isn't a relationship at all. It's an emotional labor camp disguised as love. When you finally speak up after years of silence, his dismissal, "you're overreacting," isn't just frustrating, it's revealing. It shows how accustomed he's become to your emotional servitude. Real partnership doesn't make you doubt your right to basic consideration. It doesn't pathologize your hunger for connection while excusing his emotional laziness as just how men are. The next time he claims you're making too much of something, try turning the question back on him. If it's truly no big deal, then why is it so hard for you to change? The answer will tell you everything you need to know about where you really stand in this relationship, and whether staying is an act of love or just slow emotional suicide. Because here's the painful truth. Resentment doesn't happen in healthy relationships where both people show up for each other. It grows in the gap between what you're giving and what you're receiving, a gap that only widens the longer you pretend it isn't there. Your anger isn't the problem. It's the alarm bell you've been ignoring. And no amount of swallowing your truth will make you happy. It will only make you disappear. The moment your frustration finally spills over, when after months or even years of biting your tongue, you dare to say, "I need you to step up without me asking." Or, "It hurts when you tune me out." That's when the dismissal comes. "You're too sensitive," he says, or, "Not everything has to be a big deal." Suddenly, your valid emotions are twisted into proof of your irrationality, your exhaustion framed as drama, your needs recast as unreasonable demands. And the worst part? It works. You start questioning yourself. Maybe I am too much. Maybe expecting basic consideration is asking for too much. Maybe this is just how relationships are supposed to be. But here's the truth. This isn't about you being too emotional. It's about him being too comfortable. When someone benefits from your silence, they'll call your pain an overreaction to keep things exactly as they are. Real love doesn't make you doubt your own feelings. It doesn't dismiss your pain as hormonal fluctuations or weaponize your vulnerability against you. It doesn't treat your needs as burdens. The problem isn't your exhaustion. It's the unspoken rule that his comfort matters more than your dignity. His forgetfulness is excused as just how men are, while your reminders are labeled nagging. His emotional laziness is normalized, while your hunger for connection is pathologized. If you're reading this with that familiar ache in your chest, the one that whispers, "Maybe I'm asking for too much," hear this. You're not. You've just been starved for so long that crumbs feel like a feast. The next time he claims you're overreacting, ask, "If it's not a big deal, why is it so hard for you to change?" Because the answer reveals everything. If it mattered to him, he'd care that it matters to you. Period. You know this routine too well. You're the one scrolling through restaurant reviews to plan date night, while he's content with another evening of scrolling through his phone. You're the one bookmarking articles about communication in marriage, while he insists we're fine without ever asking how you're really doing. You're the one staying up late wondering how to reconnect, while he's already snoring beside you, oblivious to the emotional distance growing between you. The imbalance isn't just in what you do, it's in who cares enough to try. What makes this so painful isn't the extra work. It's the quiet realization that hits you in vulnerable moments. If you stop trying, would anything change? Would he notice the silence where your efforts used to be? The terrifying answer whispers back, probably not. Because when one person carries all the emotional weight in a relationship, their labor becomes invisible, expected, like gravity, only noticed when it's gone. His excuse, "I just don't think about these things," isn't the defense he thinks it is. It's an admission that your emotional needs don't occupy space in his mind unless you force them there. Meanwhile, you think about his needs constantly. His stress at work, his relationship with his family, whether he's getting enough sleep. The asymmetry would be laughable if it weren't so lonely. This isn't about keeping score. It's about the fundamental question every one-sided relationship eventually faces. Can this person show up for me in the ways I've shown up for them? Not perfectly, not always, but consistently enough that you don't feel like a beggar in your own marriage? Because love isn't just a feeling. It's a daily choice to prioritize each other. And right now, you're the only one making that choice. The heartbreaking truth? He may genuinely believe he's trying, but in relationships, intention without action is just self-delusion. You deserve more than someone who's comfortable. You deserve someone who's committed. Not to being perfect, but to being present. Not to never failing, but to always trying. Because the scariest question isn't, why am I the only one trying? It's, how long can I keep being the only one before I disappear completely? They call you the Rock. Your family, your friends, even him. It's meant as a compliment, this label they've given you. But no one sees how heavy that rock really is. You've become so good at being strong that no one thinks to ask if you're tired. You're the one who holds everyone else together, remembering birthdays, soothing egos, absorbing crises, while your own needs get buried under everyone else's. There's a special kind of loneliness that comes from being the person everyone leans on but no one thinks to support. You've learned to cry in the shower where no one can hear, to swallow your anxiety before it inconveniences anyone, to pretend you don't need what you desperately do, because needing feels like failing at being the unshakable woman everyone expects you to be. The cruel irony? The better you are at being strong, the less anyone thinks to check if you're okay. Your husband doesn't notice the way your hands shake when you think no one's looking, or how you've started waking up at 3 a.m. with your mind racing. Why would he? You've trained him not to. You're always fine, always capable, always holding it together. Until one day, you realize with a jolt that you don't actually want to be strong anymore. You want to be soft, to be cared for, to have someone notice when you're struggling before you reach breaking point. But now you're trapped in this role you created, and the scariest thought whispers through you. What if you've made yourself indispensable but not cherished? What if they love what you do for them more than they love you? This isn't about blame. It's about the terrible cost of constant strength. About how every time you've said, "I've got it," when you didn't. Every time you've bitten back a "what about me?" Зрение. Вы вынудили верить, что вы не нуждаетесь в том, что вы дарите так свободно другим. The truth is, strength isn't never needing. It's having the courage to say "I need" in a world that's grown comfortable with your silence. You don't have to keep carrying everything alone to prove your worth. Real love doesn't require you to be unbreakable. It promises to help put you back together when you do. You've become an expert at self-editing, shrinking your emotions to bite-sized portions he can easily digest. That sharp comment you wanted to make about his thoughtlessness? Swallowed. Those tears burning behind your eyes when he forgot your anniversary? Blinked away. The passionate opinion you had about where to send the kids to school? Watered down to whatever you think. You tell yourself you're being mature, keeping the peace, but there's a quiet violence in this constant self-silencing. Each time you bite back your truth, a little piece of you goes numb. You've started to wonder, if he knew the full weight of your thoughts, the depth of your needs, would he still choose you? Or is his love conditional on you staying comfortably small? The irony cuts deep. You bend yourself into pretzels trying not to be too much, while he never worries about being too little. Too little present, too little engaged, too little aware of the emotional labor you perform daily just to keep his world running smoothly. You monitor your tone so carefully, walking the tightrope between nagging and being so quiet he forgets you exist at all. Meanwhile, he speaks freely, acts freely, exists freely, never once considering if he's too much for simply taking up space. Here's the painful truth they never teach you. When someone makes you feel like too much, what they're really saying is, "You're more than I'm willing to handle." Your emotions aren't the problem. His emotional laziness is. A partner who truly loves you won't make you ration your authenticity to make his life easier. He'll lean in when you're angry, sit with you when you're sad, celebrate when you're passionate, because all of you is worth knowing, not just the convenient parts. So the next time you feel yourself shrinking, ask this instead. Why am I the only one who has to change to make this relationship work? Why is my fullness treated as an inconvenience rather than a gift? You deserve love that doesn't require you to disappear. You deserve a love that says, "Give me everything you are, I can take it." because you're not too much. You're exactly enough. And anyone who can't see that isn't your problem to fix. They're your lesson to walk away from. So tonight, try this. Stop editing yourself. Say the thing you've been biting back. Ask for what you need without apologizing. And if the answer is silence or defensiveness, pay attention. Love shouldn't cost you your voice. If today's conversation touched something inside you, don't keep it to yourself. Like, share and subscribe so we can keep these honest conversations going. And if you have a story of your own or need advice on something you're carrying in silence, drop it in the comments. I read every word, and who knows? Your story might become the next video that helps someone feel a little less alone. This is Marriage Matters, and your voice matters here.